Yeah, so my name's Andrew Ringler. I'm a technologist. I create public interactive art. I started a company last year called Happen Interactive that focuses more on helping other artists and people create their own art. And I also have my own private practice of kind of making my own art. Um, So let me just show you a few projects. No, wait, I have time for some background, right? Um, so yeah, I have a background in computer science. I was a programmer for a while, focusing on simulations of the natural world as well as human behavior. That kind of tied in a lot to like data visualization. I sort of segmented into user interface design, user experience design, and then somehow that kind of blossomed into an interest in digital art, like kind of 1970s digital art. And then I decided to go back to school. I studied art and design at Mass Art here in Boston at a program called Dynamic Media Institute, DMI. Um, and I focused there on kind of complexity in uh, interface design in public art. So kind of a balance between accessibility and complexity. So trying to make things approachable, but kind of have hidden depths. So yeah, let me jump into it. So this is a project that was up in the Seaport for 2 years called Public Radio, created by New American Public Art. Um, and I was responsible for the electronics and lighting design, sound design. It's basically a giant FM radio that just played FM radio 24/7. You could go up to it and change the station. Kind of had a neat feature. We wanted the dials to be really robust. So they're like not connected to the electronics at all. We use basically a little disc attached to the axle and then like photo gates that kind of detect the gaps in the axle. It's kind of like a handmade rotary encoder, it's called. So if you basically have a disc and you measure it twice, you can get direction and speed from that kind of system. And so I think, yeah, a lot of times in my art, I'm sort of thinking of new ways to create like sensors for getting the type of input I want. Um, Another interesting feature of this project, it had sort of this resting animation that like pulsed out, kind of like a reference to like the pulse of radio waves or like the notion of the visualization of the pulse of radio waves. And then as you like turn the dial to change the station, it sort of like stops pulsing. And then if you take a break, it'll start pulsing again. Volume is similar, that was on the bottom. And we sort of had this idea that we call it avocado volume, which is it sort of as you turned the dial, the volume would increase and then it would sort of just start decreasing. So we didn't want any hard stops in the dial so that anytime someone comes up to it, they can just like turn the dial and it does something. And the station did the same thing. So it wraps around. And then I think after like 10 minutes, it resets to always being clockwise as increasing, which if you think about it, it kind of reset it because you want it to work in both directions. It's still a little confusing. So this is another sound project I did with Pat Davivonska called Sequencing. It's essentially a step sequencer, which is a type of drum machine, sometimes called an audio sequencer. Often it's sort of like a grid of rows, or one way that it's visualized, at least recently, is like a grid of rows. Each row represents like a different instrument or like note. And then time runs left to right. That's the idea of the step. So like each step is like a beat. And so we rotated it on the side. So each kind of cubby is a different instrument. And as you put a marble in the cubby, it like activates that like cell. And so when like time, which is running like bottom to top, like hits the marble, it plays the sound for that particular instrument or note. Um, so yeah, if there's no marbles in the cubbies, it's silent. I don't know if this will be loud enough online. Okay, sure. Um, Turn your volume down again. I don't know what the word is for that. Um, Hello again. Yeah, so yeah, that's the step sequencer. Keep that in mind. Um, so yeah, I briefly mentioned my company. I kind of focus more on like other people's art. So I'll just briefly talk about one project, Sync Live. They're headed to Berlin next week. Basically, it's this like ring of LEDs around your head. It's like a group exercise. You're encouraged to like move synchronously around a room. And we actually measure the position of every single person in the room and then give feedback through like the blinking of the lights, as well as the system has like OSC and MIDI outputs. And so we like feed that into Touch Designer and like Max to generate like real-time generative sound and visuals. It's sort of this like experience. And so, yeah, that's kind of like work I do through my company, sort of helping other people execute their art. All right. And now, how much time do I have left?
Yep. Yeah, good.
I'll take a few minutes. Okay. Um, Musical beats, yeah. So, um, I just did a project this past weekend. It was Saturday in Somerville, called Dawn, by Also Does Stuff. This is a video by Alison Tannenhouse, sort of a promo, uh, to give you an idea of what the project was about. It's basically an immersive space. We took over an old office building that had like cubicles and conference rooms and created this sort of dystopian office experience. So the guests were basically told they were like new hires in the company, and everyone who's running the experience was like an actor, basically an office person. And there's all sorts of like stuff around the space, kind of like Sleep No More meets Burning Man meets like a craft fair. Um, there's stuff for sale. Um, so yeah, the space got darker over time, like over the evening, over the like 4 hours. It started out like fully lit. Um, so my space, I was responsible for the space. I'm going to try to recreate it in the meeting now. So I was basically a data entry person. Um, so I had this, basically the setup, it was like a monitor with like kind of this old terminal style form. I was sitting at the desk, and when people would walk by, I would give them this shtick, which I'll give to you in a moment. Um, so this is what the keyboard looked like. It's a custom keyboard. Um, Sorry, it's a keyboard that I bought, and I customize all the keys, which you can do. So it's if you're interested, yeah, it's a programmable keyboard. There's a lot these days that run like QMK or VF firmware, and you can program them like super easily. Okay, so all right, so let me jump in to the demo. I'll leave my sound on for a bit, and then I'll let you know, and I'll stop talking, and then we'll hear the sound in the room a little bit better. All right, so cool, cool. All right, yeah, great, great. Well, okay, yeah, so that's the keyboard you saw. You can watch it upside down. Um, yeah, so basically, yeah, let's pretend someone walks by, and this is kind of the experience. Hi. Uh, I work at Dawn. I'm working data entry, but I'm like just about to go on break. Like, do you mind like sitting down and like filling out this form? Like, like yeah, have a seat. So yeah, that's kind of the deal. So yeah, just like fill out this form. This is like what I do for a job. I'll be back in a few minutes. Um, and put on these headphones. That's important to fill out the form. Um, so yeah, this is the form. All right, so let's try to fill out this form. Sure. Second. Yeah, so that's the basic experience. There's yeah, so basically the forms, like I wrote out these handwritten forms, they like only contain the digits 0 through 9 in ABC. And like pretty much everything else on the keyboard is like a weird um, Easter egg. So there's kind of all these special keys. You can buy like keycaps online. They come in like 108 keys, and usually like 20 of them will just be like random keys because not everyone has like a full size keyboard. Or they'll just fit a grid, and so they'll give you like 20 extra super weird keys. Um, so they're all like weird Easter eggs that just like pause the sound and then like have a message like sometimes related to the like dystopian office, or other times just related to the actual like icon that I found. Um, so, yeah, kind of like yeah, my like kind of idea of like hidden complexity in user interfaces is like, at the very least, like people can kind of just like sit down and fill out the form and um, like do that. And then they're like, oh, okay, there's more to it. Um, you can, uh, so yeah, one of my favorite like hidden features is these two little buttons here. This So they actually just changed the BPM. So it's like kind of like one feature of a normal instrument, normal drum machine. So I think I'll just play around with it just for a little bit while the room can hear it. So I'll mute myself again. All right. That is it from me. Yeah, thanks.
Well, first, I'm very curious how, what the reaction was. Like, how did people respond to this concept art?
Yeah, so I'm sort of like always happy when like most people can kind of like sit down and like experience like something I've created. Um and just be like, yeah, okay, that was cool. And then I usually like when there's like a few people who are like really into it. And so that happened, which was really nice. There was like two people who were like, oh, this is a drum machine, and like came back and like really spent a lot of time with it.
Nice.
And yeah, some people like filled out forms for me. So they like made up songs and I had blank forms and I like started filling them in, and they wrote notes on some of the like forms that I had written, which is kind of funny. And then yeah, actually a lot of people just like liked my like acting bit, which didn't I didn't think that that was going to be part of the experience. Like I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna have this form thing and I'm gonna show in the or show. And then when I showed up at like, 3 p.m., I was like, oh, this people need some context. So then yeah, I came up with a bit about being a data entry person and yeah, asking people to fill out a form while I took a break. Yeah.
Could you talk a bit about your process consulting with artists and your interactive work? How do you begin with them sitting down? What do you talk about?
Oh yeah. Um, I think at least like for me, it's really important to kind of let people know that I'm like happy to like for my practice, Happen Interactive, I'm happy to like be as like technical and non-designy as they want and not take any role in influencing their project in any way. Like I'm happy to like, I will help you execute this technology. And at the other end of the spectrum, I'm like happy to like walk through the design process and like, yeah, think of different ways that they can approach like the design problem and like different, yeah, creatively like different approaches. And I think, yeah, I mean, most of my clients are like somewhere on the spectrum of like how much of that they want me to like contribute.
I had a question about, I
Yeah.
guess two maybe. The first one being about the UI for that class program. Were you doing it like using like a regular UI interface, or are you actually trying to emulate like what it's like to render stuff on a terminal? Like the terminal?
Yeah, yeah, so it was, oh, okay, yeah, the question was like, how did I actually create that form? Was it like a terminal or was it like faked in something else? So yeah, it was actually created in Python curses. So curses is like a old library for creating interactive text-based programs, and the curses library for Python is actually really nice to work with. I would say I probably like wouldn't do it that way again if I had to. Like,
Yeah.
I know.
Seeds curses and it's painful.
Yes, I think, yeah, because it really like matches like the way screens were back then. So like I would like program it on my machine, and then when I would like test it on the final screen, like curses would actually crash if you try to like write outside the window or like, and just like having like different windows, it was like it was a lot of work. And I was like, this would be a lot easier in a language I know, like processing or even touch designer, web-based would have been way easier, just like a web form. So
And then the second question was like, how'd you do the audio? Were you using, I know there's a bunch of different libraries in Python, but.
Yeah, that was actually, okay, yeah, the question was how did I do the audio? And I think I would have the same answer is I did the audio in Python, and I don't think really any of the libraries in Python are that great to deal with for real-time audio. And I wouldn't do that again. A lot of my past projects, I would just send MIDI or OSC out to like Super Collider or C Sound, which is like really great for real-time audio for like even Max MSP or Touch Designer. This one I was like, oh, I'll just do everything in Python. And it was really hard. So I had to build out this real-time framework, and it was in Pygame.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Pygame has a built-in mixer, and it lets you do 8 real simultaneous sounds. It layers them correctly. And so that's what I ended up using was Pygame.
Yeah,
PYGA.
Yep. Yeah.
very cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. Sure.
Say last question, and then we can.
Last two questions. So I really like what you said about the accessible complexity or accessible, but still with depth. And also your things look like quite different. So how do you come up with ideas? I mean, what is the origination?
Yeah.
It's not exactly process, I guess, but
Mhm.
this is one thing. And second thing for this one last thing that you showed, how much time did it take from idea to final result? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, question was about process and then like effort and time specifically for this project. I think Yeah, my process varies a lot. Sometimes I'm like inspired by a piece of technology. So I think in this case, I was like, yeah, I want it to be like terminal based. I'm gonna play around with curses, and I kind of just like explored what is easy and hard in that technology, and the kind of projects kind of took a path. And other times, yeah, I have some sort of conceptual idea, and then I really plan out like on paper, or like even, yeah, like prototype, like drawing stuff on paper, um, and try to like paper prototype, like how does the interaction feel like? So I'd say it's pretty diverse. Um, this project, yeah, it ended up taking a lot longer than I thought it was going to. Yeah, one of the big reasons was I really struggled with real-time sound in Python until I found Pygame. Um, but yeah, I think it was probably like several days of effort. Um, and yeah, I mean, I kind of like spent a lot of time. I was like playing with the keys and picking all the keys for the keyboard and picking all the like little text that shows up. Um, well, all right, thank you.